Tonight, intruder terror as a man takes desperate action to escape a gunman. The latest live. Also, a father learns his fate for killing his son in a Christmas tragedy. A Melbourne concert to celebrate the life of Olivia Newton-John. The hospital plan to help cut elective surgery waiting times. A music spectacular with global stars to perform in shows across Victoria. And Patrick Cripps's last-ditch appeal as Collingwood Premiership legends reunite.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. A Brunswick father has broken his lounge room window to desperately scream for help as an intruder pointed a shotgun at his face. The gunman is tonight on the run after the daylight home invasion.
Brendan was working at home at his Brunswick apartment when he heard repeated noises from someone outside.
I opened the door a little bit and he barged in and pointed a shotgun in my face.
This is a big gun.
Yeah, it was massive. Then I thought I've got to get that away from my face. I grabbed the end of the gun and moved it away from my face. Yeah, he was just shouting at me, but I couldn't make sense of it.
Just before 9 this morning, the stranger confronted the 46-year-old at his home on Staley Street.
I thought I might be killed, so I ran to the window and smashed it and just screaming help.
The father of two used his fist, which cut his finger. Then he threw plants and bottles from his windowsill to make more noise and attract attention. It worked. Several neighbours heard it.
Yeah, I was saying there's a guy with a gun.
Screaming it?
Yeah. It was scared out of his wits.
The help, you know, I shit myself. I was inside, I'm like, something's going on, you know?
Brendan's desperate act spooked the gunman.
Then I looked back and he was a bit confused about what to do, and then he ran.
Nothing was stolen by the man Brendan described as intimidating. The ordeal over in a minute. Its impact will last much longer.
I was crying. I was, traumatised.
Never seen him before in your life?
No.
Paul Dowsley reporting. A court has shown mercy to a father who killed his toddler in a joyride on Christmas Day. A judge has declared Christopher Brown should not be jailed because he's been punished enough.
With his wife beside him in court, Christopher Brown was spared jail, but was sentenced to a lifetime of guilt.
By driving the buggy dangerously, you caused the death of your son.
On Christmas Day 2020, Brown brought out the Polaris buggy to take family members on a joyride. He sat on top of the seatbelt, holding 2-year-old Lincoln on his knee, his other hand on the steering wheel. The Barnawatha father performed donuts in a paddock at speeds of up to 50 kilometres an hour. But on the final turn, Brown lost control.
As the buggy overturned, Lincoln fell out and the buggy landed on top of him.
The toddler's mother ran to him and performed CPR, but he couldn't be revived. His 33-year-old father told police he'd become a bit complacent. Both he and Lincoln were unrestrained without helmets. He pleaded guilty to dangerous driving causing death. The court heard Brown had suffered PTSD since the tragedy. Christopher Brown was ordered to complete 250 hours of unpaid community work. Christopher Brown's family says he will likely carry the demons of this accident for the rest of his life. He's built a playground next to the house in memory of Lincoln.
The suffering and loss you have brought upon yourself involves a punishment more than any court could impose.
Jade Vincent, 7 News.
An all-star lineup is expected to perform at a memorial concert honouring the life of Olivia Newton-John. The plans were revealed as the singer's husband offered his own tribute, reflecting on their love and her courage.
As the world mourns Australia's sweetheart, Olivia Newton-John's heartbroken husband, John Easterling, remembered the love they shared. She was the most courageous woman I've ever known. Even now, as her soul soars, the pain and holes in my heart are healed with the joy of her love and the light that shines forward. As Victoria moves forward with plans for a state memorial for the music icon who died aged 73.
This, I think, will be much more of a concert than a funeral. It'll be an appropriate celebration of such a rich and generous life.
The cast of Melbourne's Hairspray musical say a concert is the perfect way to say goodbye.
I think it's a really fitting tribute to a gorgeous, gorgeous lady.
She could honestly fill the air with beautiful music, but also she filled a room with beautiful love, and she was so generous of spirit, and she delivered that to the world.
Music promoter Michael Gudinski honoured in a similar way at Rod Laver Arena.
I think it would be amazing to honour a lady that had so many great talents in music.
Details, including a date for the memorial concert, are yet to be confirmed, and it's unclear whether members of the public will be able to attend.
The family were quite touched at the prospect of Victorians being able to come together and celebrate Olivia's life. There'll be further discussions between my department and the family about what is appropriate.
She'll never be replaced, dear Livy.
Sarah Jones, 7 News.
Detectives have identified a mystery man who's spent a month in hospital with no name and no family coming forward. The man was hit by a train in Brunswick on July the 7th. He had no phone, wallet or cards. Police have thanked the public for their help to identify him, but have declined to provide further information. A private hospital in Melbourne's eastern suburbs will be turned public to help reduce long elective surgery waiting times. Bellbird Private in Blackburn will become a dedicated surgery centre, a move the opposition says is government takeover by stealth.
43 beds and 4 operating theatres, the Bellbird Private Hospital will be public by October.
Because we've instead purchased this, we're able to turn that capacity on, if you like, really, really fast.
At a cost of $140 million, the hospital will be a dedicated elective surgery centre. 5,700 patients are set to be treated annually at the facility to help put a dent in the wait list that's currently more than 87,000.
We know that our health system is under pressure, as systems right around the nation and indeed across the world are.
The Blackburn facility is the second to be snapped up by the state government. The first in Frankston will open in September.
Now we've got a takeover by stealth. This is a socialist manoeuvre by a socialist government that is hell-bent on taking over private health.
Inside Liberal Party headquarters, new Chief of Staff Nick McGowan was furiously working the phones as news of another office departure broke.
Look, I mean, these are issues that happen in terms of staff appointments and everything. It's just, part of every day.
In the last 8 days, 3 staffers have left Matthew Guy's office. The latest was his diary manager, with Liberal sources revealing to 7 News that she was fired by new Chief of Staff Nick McGowan. Mr Guy hasn't made a public appearance since Monday. The Premier, who faces continued scrutiny over the red shirt scandal and IBAC examinations, wasn't buying in on the Liberal Party fallout.
They're matters for him to answer, and if you can find him, maybe you can ask him.
Chanel Vella, 7 News.
China appears to be winding down its military drills around Taiwan, but our government remains on edge. After warnings from the Chinese ambassador, Beijing is prepared to use all means necessary to take the island.
After days of live-fire drills in the Taiwan Strait, China says it's pulling back, but not out.
Theatre forces will continue to carry out training and preparation for combat.
Tonight, US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi defending her visit to Taipei, the catalyst for China's ramped-up intimidation.
We went there to show our friendship, to say China cannot isolate Taiwan.
Now warning Beijing cannot be allowed to normalise the unprecedented military pressure her trip has generated.
She had the right to visit, but the bottom line
Was it wise? No, because I think it's actually made the overall situation worse.
Despite being a self-governing democracy, Taiwan is viewed by China as a breakaway territory.
Just like, maybe it's not a good example, but Tasmania will be a part of Australia.
The ambassador leaving no doubt Beijing will take control of the island.
We are ready to use all necessary means.
Zhao Chan's ominous warning during his speech here at the National Press Club has left an already nervous Albanese government even more on edge.
They're concerning comments because our national interest is best served by peace and stability and prosperity in our region.
The opposition says the government needs to urgently bolster our defences.
We're in a very precarious time, and if we pretend otherwise, then it will be a very dire result.
Rob Scott, 7 News.
Former Flemington horse trainer Tommy Hughes Jr. will remain in custody after facing court charged over a double stabbing at Ascot Vale. Hughes' lawyer says his client has significant health issues, including broken ribs suffered in a car crash while allegedly trying to flee from police. The 56-year-old did not apply for bail. A shocking report into veteran suicide has revealed the despair suffered by Australia's service personnel, calling it a national tragedy. The Royal Commission has made urgent recommendations to clean up the Defence Force and save lives.
Governor-General David Hurley takes possession of some confronting reading.
The rate of veteran suicide in Australia is a national tragedy.
One Royal Commissioner Nick Caldis's draft report says is made worse by a bureaucratic system failing veterans and their families. People like Julianne Finney, whose son David took his own life in 2019.
It's years overdue. If it had been done properly some years ago, I would still have my son.
The report blasts the Department of Veterans Affairs compensation system as so complicated it can be a contributing factor to suicide. With a backlog of 41,800 compensation claims, the Royal Commission wants cleared by March 2024.
It is vital that these are now addressed as a priority.
The draft report says since 2000, 50 reports have made 750 recommendations on veteran suicide, the lack of attention by previous governments leaving it dismayed.
I'm deeply sorry about that.
The new minister promising he'll now act on all 13 of the draft report's recommendations. Among them, reversing the staff cap imposed by the Abbott government on the Department of Veterans Affairs and the funding cuts under the Morrison government. Morrison government minister Andrew Gee told the Commission he had to slash $430 million to offset other spending.
We would like an apology from the Liberal National Party for the way that we've been treated while they've been sitting in power for 9 years.
There is enough blame to share across both sides of politics.
The Commission's hearings will now continue with a final report due mid-next year. Mark Riley, 7 News.
A driver has died after his van collided head-on with a ute north of Ballarat. His passenger was taken to hospital and as was the driver of the other vehicle. It was raining at the time.
We just ask for drivers to be aware of their surroundings, especially in this sort of weather, and just to be mindful of the road conditions and to slow down.
Victoria's road toll is 20 higher than at the same time last year. And in breaking news, an accused killer driver has been caught after fleeing a deadly crash at Geetho in the state's east. Police say the 25-year-old ran from the scene of the two-car collision. He is in custody and is assisting police. The driver of the other car died at the scene. Donald Trump has refused to answer questions at a hearing into his business dealings in New York. The closed-door interview took place just 2 days after the FBI raided the former president's Florida home.
Mr. President, what's your message to your supporters, Mr. President?
Reserving his right to silence, America's outspoken former president.
How do you feel, Mr. Trump? How do you feel?
Refusing to answer questions from New York's Attorney General on claims his Trump organisation deceived lenders, insurers and tax authorities with exaggerated financial statements.
Mr. Trump, can we have a word?
The 6-hour deposition, the greatest witch hunt in the history of our country, according to Trump, who invoked his Fifth Amendment right not to self-incriminate, despite a history of attacking others who've done the same.
If you're innocent, why are you taking the Fifth Amendment? Fifth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, Fifth Amendment. Horrible.
This legal headache unrelated to an FBI search for classified documents at his Florida mansion 48 hours earlier. Trump, though, is unconvinced, demanding the man he appointed FBI director publicly releases details of the search warrant.
That's not something that I can talk about.
For all their hero's legal woes, there is building excitement among Trump's supporters that he's about to make it formal and announce he's running for president in 2024.
He's always put America first, and he's going to do whatever it takes to save America.
In Palm Beach, Florida, Tim Lester, 7 News.
Qantas is extending the time window for passengers catching connecting flights, hoping to help reduce the high rate of mishandled luggage. Transfer times for flights in and out of Melbourne will increase from 60 to 90 minutes. The airline has also slashed its flight capacity by 10%. A live music spectacular is coming to Victoria with more than 100 local and international artists booked to perform. The concerts are the brainchild of the late Michael Gudinski and will be staged in 12 regions across the state.
British pop superstar Dua Lipa is coming to Melbourne. She's part of a huge lineup of 150 local and international artists taking part in the biggest music event in Australia's history.
We could take a check, we could take a break, forget about it all, you know, we could run away.
We could not be more pumped about the next few months right here in Victoria.
Rising Aussie star Ash Warrior will perform as Dua Lipa's support act, a huge break for the 23-year-old who only started recording during lockdown.
So I didn't even get to experience what it's like as an artist to perform live for like 2 years, and then here I am supporting Dua Lipa, and it's crazy.
Always Live will involve more than 90 separate concerts between October and the end of the year. Sophie Ellis-Bextor is also heading our way to join Jessica Mauboy, Billy Joel and Yothu Yindi across 12 regions in Victoria, including Bendigo, Bright, Goldfields, Grampians, Murray and Melbourne. The event was a long-held dream of legendary music promoter Michael Gudinski, who died last year. His son Matt is now taking over the reins, proud to continue his dad's legacy.
He'd be extremely proud to see it finally come to life after all these years.
The goal is to turn this into an annual event.
We definitely hope that this will become a reoccurring event year in, year out.
Feel the spirit from the fight that never stopped.
Christy Cooper, 7 News.
The Blues are fighting to save their skipper. Tim Watson, it's Carlton's last roll of the dice.
It is. Mitch Patrick Cripps is currently before the AFL Appeals Board. Chief football reporter Tom Brown is covering the case. And Tom, they're fighting a two-match ban.
Tim, the hearing has just started. Carlton arguing this is not a mere technicality. The Blues argue it's a denial of natural justice, arguing because both players were contesting the ball, the tribunal incorrectly applied the phrase in the bumping of an opponent. Interesting argument. To the teams first, and Patrick Dangerfield and Joel Selwood have been named for Geelong, who are managing 3 players. Carlton must win. Voss recalling ruckman Mark Pitney for dropping Tom de Koning. The flu is an issue at Collingwood. Jamie Elliott named, but 3 are in as extras in an extended squad. Luke Beveridge has recalled Lockie Hunter but dropped Josh Bruce. Dan Hanbury hasn't got up for St Kilda. Zach Jones dropped, and at Arden Street, number 1 pick Jason Horne-Francis has been omitted. Tim?
Thanks, Tom. Also ahead in sport, the Tigers put a line through Dustin Martin. We'll tell you when he's hoping to return. And Nick Kyrgios sends a heartfelt message to Mum as Serena Williams wipes away tears. I'll see you again soon, Mitch.
OK, thank you very much indeed, Tim. There's a push to review work-at-home recommendations. Emma O'Sullivan is in the city.
Mitch, office occupancy rates have plummeted, leading to a new campaign. I'll have the details next on 7 News.
Also coming up, why Australia Post customers have been left in limbo. A northern suburbs crash causes afternoon delays. Puffing Billy Pride as the popular tourist attraction gets a global nod. And later, Choice reveals the practical ways to save on household bills. Two cars have collided before ploughing through a fence and into a backyard garage in Melbourne's north. It sparked an emergency operation on Disney Street at Fawkner, causing traffic delays on nearby Sydney Road during this afternoon's peak. A woman aged in her 50s was taken to hospital in a stable condition. The number of city workers returning to the office has taken the biggest monthly dive outside of lockdowns. Emma O'Sullivan joins us now, and Emma, it's prompted calls for an urgent review of work from home advice.
Mitch, the figures from the Property Council show occupancy levels fell by a massive 11% in July. It's prompted the Lord Mayor to sound alarm bells. Sally Capp now wants the state government to review its work from home public health advice, saying this latest survey is a blow to the city's recovery. The Lord Mayor says city traders are on their knees.
Now we're really asking for state government to understand that there's a balance in protecting lives but also in protecting livelihoods.
CBD occupancy rates plummeted from 49% in June to 38% in July after the Health Minister advised staff to work from home where practical through winter.
At the moment they're still leaving it open for people to work from home just because there's lots of cases still.
Just want to get out of the house and see people, talk to people, engage.
On Mondays and Fridays, occupancy drops as low as 19%.
And I think what we're seeing is people become quite discerning about what's going to draw them back into the city.
My team's putting on some pizza lunch for everyone, so that's a good incentive.
The City of Melbourne says it's time for a review now that COVID cases have peaked.
I receive updates regularly. We've seen a plateau and indeed a trend down, but it's still very early days.
Businesses in the western suburbs are facing a different problem. They're struggling to hire locals. New research from Victoria University found almost half the workforce commutes from other areas.
It doesn't surprise me at all.
Yaron Flicker says he's also dealing with a skills shortage as manufacturing industries such as his textile production business are dying out.
It is hard to find people who want to work hard. There are a lot of people who like looking at screens or thinking looking at screens. When we work, you put your phones in your pocket and there's work to be done.
Emma O'Sullivan, 7 News.
Australia Post customers have been left in limbo as in-store transactions went down across the country. Management is blaming the problem on a global internet outage. Systems went down just before midday and weren't restored until around 5 o'clock this afternoon. Victoria's famous Puffing Billy steam train is getting global attention tonight. Its $25 million lakeside visitor centre has been recognised for Best New Architecture at an international awards ceremony in Chicago.
It links to our history. There's lots of timber involved. Obviously, the railway was originally started to take timber out of the hills and produce, and so certainly the building is a very modern interpretation of that.
The train defeated more than 150 entries. Jane Bunn joins us now, and Jane, it turned rather bright to end the day.
Now, Mitch, I did promise the sun would come out late afternoon, and that's what it did after the rain cleared. Our temperature has been all over the place. The coldest part of the night was 11, but that was at 9 p.m. last night. By 5 a.m. it was up on 14. Our top was 16, then the rain arrived and the temperature dropped. At 3 p.m. it was only 11, cold, grey and wet. Then the sun came back out and it rose back up to 14. Tomorrow looks unsettled. It'll be a hint of spring, slightly warm, a bit humid. There is the risk of a thunderstorm. The full details are after sport, Mitch.
A bit all over the shop.
Indeed.
Thank you, Jane. The thousands of Victorians suffering long COVID are closer to a treatment tonight. How researchers have made links to another illness is coming up next on 7 News. Also, an arsonist sets fire to a house with a teenager inside. A deadly house explosion causes chaos in a suburban street. And an overdue reunion for the Magpies stars who broke a 32-year drought. An arsonist is on the run after setting fire to a house while a teenager and her father were inside. Police say the man set the weatherboard house alight outside the 16-year-old girl's bedroom. She woke to a room full of smoke and alerted her father. They both escaped injury. It happened in Bendigo on July 22nd. Australian researchers have made a major breakthrough for sufferers of long COVID. They've discovered the symptoms are strikingly similar to chronic fatigue syndrome, which means a treatment could be just around the corner.
Carly Molston was a teacher and yoga instructor, smart, fit and overachiever before being diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome. She had been feeling much better, then caught COVID.
And that basically has taken me right back to where I was 3 years ago.
Fatigue, brain fog, memory loss, but this time doctors diagnosed long COVID.
It feels the same. It's the same type of symptoms.
That's what prompted research at Griffith University, where scientists discovered a breakthrough.
We've identified the pathology of long COVID and it has an overlap with chronic fatigue syndrome,
which in 80% of cases is also caused by a virus or infection.
We are then looking at now fast-tracking the drugs that we've identified with chronic fatigue syndrome patients and applying them now into long COVID patients.
Finding an effective treatment for long COVID is still a long way off. However, it's hoped this research will lead to clinical trials. There is one drug scientists believe could work.
Low-dose naltrexone is that particular drug.
It's working for Carly Molston.
That has been really key to have a better quality of life than I would have without that.
Relief most long COVID sufferers are yet to find. Carly Madsen, 7 News.
Europe is on track to suffer its worst drought in 500 years, with wildfires raging and some rivers at risk of running dry. Several countries have introduced emergency measures to save water.
After the country's driest July in 87 years, London's lush green parks have vanished.
I've never seen the field this brown.
But you can see the ground is cracking, it's like canyons.
Around 60% of Europe and the UK is under drought warnings, driven by a combination of heat waves and lack of rain. Germany's Rhine River is running dangerously low. By the end of the week, it'll be impassable to barges carrying coal and oil, compounding the continent's energy crisis. France declaring the drought its worst on record, with drinking water now being trucked in to more than 100 towns as fires rage again in the country's southwest.
This particularly dry year confirms what climate change scenarios have been making evident for a long time.
The extreme conditions threatening food production in Italy and Spain, especially the production of olive oil.
The UK is also facing alerts with another heat wave this week, but it's the longer-term forecast causing concern, with the dry conditions expected to continue well into autumn here and across large parts of Europe.
The British government being urged to declare a drought emergency.
I think it's just a sign of the times changing, which is a little bit scary.
In London, Sarah Greenhalgh, 7 News.
At least 3 people have been killed after a house exploded in the US state of Indiana. 4 properties were destroyed and dozens damaged. Locals said it sounded like a bomb going off.
Then there was debris and insulation falling on us, like snow.
Most nearby homes were empty at the time, and there's still no word on the cause. And tech giant Samsung has launched its 4th generation of fold and flip phones. The top-of-the-range models will set you back $3,000, promising better cameras, batteries and performance. Competitor Apple is expected to unveil a new iPhone next month. One of footy's most famous premiership teams has gathered for a long overdue reunion. Collingwood's 1990 drought breakers today relived the glory days, daring to dream of another fairy tale flag this September.
The Collywobbles lasted 32 years. It's almost poetic that because of COVID, the 30-year reunion took place 32 years on from that drought-breaking flag.
Collingwood has shrugged off sport's most documented jinx to win the inaugural AFL Grand Final.
Hello, Tony. Lovely to see you.
Lee Matthews, Tony Shaw, Craig Kelly and Damien Monkhurst, the reunion winding back the clock to one of football's most famous eras.
It's a fantastic feeling. I'm constantly being reminded, it doesn't matter when I'm getting petrol or going to the grocery shop, you know, you run into a Collingwood fan, they're telling you what it meant to them.
Battle scars from the quarter-time melee remain.
Only it felt like the whole ground was fighting.
It was expected and probably allowed to happen a little bit, but there was a lot of feeling in the game.
A four-time premiership player, it was Matthews' first as coach. Darren Mullane had the ball on the siren, passing away in a car crash just 12 months later.
Darren Mullane playing that whole campaign with the broken thumb and the pain he was in post-game that we saw, I think that was an inspiration to everybody.
Today's celebration coinciding with Collingwood's 11 wins in a row.
Probably their last quarter against Melbourne was quite possibly the most impressive that we've seen. They just completely shut Melbourne down.
Peter hoping his boys taste similar success in 6 weeks. Nick and Josh keen to create their own highlight reel.
This is where he's at his best.
I tell them all the time, but they're not interested. By the time I get the VHS in there, they're asleep.
Tom Brown, 7 News.
Tim Watson was getting a cuppa during that report. Consumer group Choice has come up with new ways to save. The cost of living tips to help you future-proof your finances are next on 7 News. Also, urgent talks to tackle a critical shortage of teachers. And a major car recall over brake danger fears. State and federal education ministers will meet tomorrow to discuss how to fix a national teacher shortage. Ideas include financial bonuses and cheaper uni degrees.
And we know that we're going to need literally thousands of teachers over the next decade.
15% of Victorian teachers quit within 3 years of graduating. There are positive signs for the share market and the Australian dollar tonight. Here's finance editor Gemma Acton.
Thanks, Peter. Taking the lead from a resurgent Wall Street, the ASX 200 today added 78 points to close at 7,071. Telstra shares bucked the trend and sank. That was after reporting a drop in profits and a warning over rising costs. The Aussie dollar has surged above 70 US cents. That's after US inflation came in lower than expected overnight, while oil prices are trending gently higher, pushing further away from last week's lows. And for the 1.2 million Australians who own Telstra shares, a little extra cash will be coming your way. That's after Telstra boosted its dividend for the first time since 2015 to 16.5 cents per share. Peter.
Thanks, Gemma. Consumer group Choice has come up with top tips to help households save. A record number of Australians say their bills have skyrocketed in the past year, with many struggling to keep up.
Soaring costs have stretched Susie's budget to breaking point.
I've had to really pull back on my food budget.
Fearing she's just weeks away from becoming homeless, forcing tough choices.
Do I not buy food this week or do I get my medication?
Consumer group Choice says she's far from alone. Its new survey finding 90% of households have seen bills increase, with a record high 23% now struggling to get by.
It's a good time to actually take a bit of a long-term view on the outgoing costs that you're facing each month.
With costs like health insurance advising switching providers could save $900, prepaying the full year's premium to avoid price rises in coming months, and cutting back on inclusions you don't need.
Paying for fertility services or paying for maternity services.
For utilities, as well as shopping around for a better deal, check appliances that guzzle the most energy to use less. Speak to your lender about deferring payments or reducing rates on loans. Check the rates and fees on credit cards and ask for a better deal, and beware quick fixes like payday lenders. And to help all of this, know what you're spending. The government's Money Smart website can get a budget done in 20 minutes.
Choice says if you are having trouble paying a bill, ask for help. Many companies have hardship policies to assist customers in difficulty, and the National Debt Helpline can offer free financial counselling. Paul Kadak, 7 News.
Almost 80,000 Subarus are being recalled over a dangerous brake fault. The electronic parking brakes are at risk of failing because of a manufacturing defect which could result in the car rolling away. The affected models include Liberty sedans and Outback wagons made between 2015 and 2018. Some XV and Impreza models are also affected. Owners are urged to contact their dealership. Sport is next with Tim Watson, and Tim, the Blues are locked in a battle to save their skipper.
They are, Mitch. They're currently in front of the AFL Appeals Board. We'll have the latest live next. Also, fresh doubt for the Tigers skipper and the reason why they've ruled a line through Dusty. Exclusive details on the future of Port Adelaide coach Ken Hinkley. A twist in the return to AFL for Liam Jones, what it means for the Blues and Bulldogs. And Serena Williams fights back tears as Nick Kyrgios pays tribute to his mum. Welcome back. Carlton is fighting to free Patrick Cripps as we go to air tonight. Mitch Cleary is covering the appeal. And Mitch, this is the last roll of the dice for the Blues.
Well, Tim, the Blues midfield is decimated, so they've gone all out to free Cripps for games against Melbourne and Collingwood. They need to win just one to play finals. It's a lengthy legal-based argument. They're saying that Tuesday's tribunal that upheld the 2 weeks incorrectly interpreted that Cripps chose to bump. They're contesting on 2 grounds, the Blues, that there was an error in law and that the tribunal acted unreasonably with the evidence it had. Meantime, a win of kind for the Blues today. The AFL ticking off that Liam Jones will be classified as an unrestricted free agent this off-season, meaning they're eligible for a compensation pick for his likely move to the Dogs. Expect that to be an end of second round or third round selection. And the 1972, 81 and 82 Blues premiership teams came together for flag reunions at Marvel Stadium today. Names including Sid Jackson, David Parkin and Wayne Harms all there. Those names at the function, Tim, no doubt with an eye on tonight's appeal and the outcome around Cripps. Back to you.
Thanks, Mitch. Richmond concedes Dustin Martin won't play again this season unless they make the finals. A pair of star Tigers remain in doubt despite being named for Sunday's clash against Hawthorn.
29 disposals and 42 hitouts. Toby Nankervis was a standout in Richmond's win over Port Adelaide. The co-captain has been named in an extended squad but failed to train today. The ruckman in a lengthy chat with Tigers fitness staff before leaving the track. Barring any late season curveballs, the Tigers' finals fate is in their own hands.
What is happening?
Damien Hardwick had hoped Dustin Martin would return next week from a pair of hamstring injuries.
Regular season, he won't play any further part.
Struggling to increase the intensity of his running, Dusty will be given another 4 weeks to recover before a potential elimination final.
We know what he's like, obviously, come that time of year, so if we get there, he'll certainly have a significant part to play.
As for ongoing questions about his future, have you sat down with him and confirmed that whether he's going to be here?
Oh, well, he's got 2 years of his contract to run, so the longer we've got Dustin Martin our building, the better for us.
Nick Vlostone named to take on Hawthorn despite likely cracked ribs. The defender trained largely away from the main group today with a guard on his left side, courtesy of a Charlie Dixon knee. A 6-day break means Dan Hanbury will miss what is a virtual elimination final for St Kilda tomorrow night.
He knows about the risk of playing and something going amiss and a little niggle with the ankle, not his calf, just the ankle.
Andrew McCormack, 7 News.
There's breaking news on the coaching front. Returning to Chief Football reporter Tom Brown. And Tom, Port Adelaide has moved to end speculation.
Tim, on Monday, David Koch said clearly to Port staff on radio, turn it around or watch out, adding every single person's role will be assessed. Well, there's relief tonight for Ken Hinkley. Koch has spoken to 7 News this afternoon, guaranteeing the Port coach is safe next season.
We'll thoroughly assess our football program as a whole at season's end. But as the club has maintained all year, Ken Hinkley is contracted and will be our coach in 2023.
That's pretty clear. Still on coaching, North is now a clear favourite for Alistair Clarkson, who looks like making a decision by Friday week, next Friday. At Collingwood's reunion this afternoon, legend Peter Dacos threw support behind recontracting Jordan De Goey.
Look, I'm hoping they can do a deal. I mean, I think he showed with all the distractions and everything that's gone on over the past 2-3 months what he's capable of. I'd even say there's still a bit more maturing to go, and if you if you really get a lot more maturity out of him, I think he's an important cog.
And Tim, just finally one off-field. Andrew Dillon is now the short price favourite, according to prominent sources, to take over from Gil McLaughlin. Bulldogs president Kylie Watson-Wheeler has been widely considered a bit of a late bolter for the role, but I'm told Watson-Wheeler doesn't want the role, hasn't applied for the role, and hasn't even done interviews. A Disney executive, Watson-Wheeler already has a top job as it is, Tim.
Thanks, Tom. The blistering form of Nick Kyrgios rolls on after a win over world number one Daniil Medvedev at the Canadian Open. The Australian pulled out the party tricks, fighting back from a set down to claim another big-name scalp.
Look, I feel confident in my body and my mentality that going into the US Open, but at the same time, there's so much time between then and now. I got to focus on this event.
Kyrgios sent a message to his mum after the match. She's currently in hospital and will play Alex de Minaur next. In Toronto, Serena Williams wiped away tears as she lost to Belinda Bencic.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's been a joy playing in front of you guys all these years, so thank you.
The 23-time Grand Slam champ will retire after the US Open. Rory McIlroy admits it's getting personal with players defecting to the LIV Tour. Those players are now banned indefinitely from the PGA Tour, with some taking the matter to court.
Where the resentment comes from the membership of this tour is the fact that they want to try to get their way back in here with no consequences.
Cameron Smith will make his first appearance since winning the British Open at the St Jude Championship in Memphis tonight. And the front bar is back tonight from 8:30. Carlton cult hero Wayne the Dominator Johnson is the special guest. And a great effort of yours too tonight on the news to make sure you got yourself in that 1990 Collingwood Grand Final reunion story.
I just happened to be reading the news that night.
Is that right?
We won the flag. It was an unforgettable day, Tim.
Yes.
We'll remember that for all time.
Well, some of us remember it for other reasons.
Indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Tim. Jane is next with the forecast. Jane, we'll have a hint of spring tomorrow.
Mitch, there's a touch of warmth and humidity unsettled with the risk of a storm. Now I'll show you which suburbs are most at risk next. Hello again. Temperatures have been up and down today. The coldest part of the night was last night, and it was just under 16 this morning thanks to a northerly wind. Then the rain arrived and it plummeted to 11 before recovering to 14 late afternoon as sunshine returned. It looks more impressive on the radar than it actually was. The radar beams, they point upwards. Most of the big drops had evaporated before reaching the ground. So most gauges recorded just a trace or 1 millimetre, but Scoresby and Essendon both had 4. The back edge of the rain band, it was sharp, and then bright sunshine followed a pleasant end to the day. We are all dry out there tonight. This band of rain is slowly progressing eastwards across the state. But as it's coming down from the north, it's the northern side of the ranges that see the most, as well as the southwest corner. Some have had more than 10 millimetres. Gippsland is like Melbourne, small totals as the rain evaporates as it comes over the ranges, the rain shadow. Sunshine returned after the band and it rapidly rose up to 20 in Mildura, while Shepparton and Seymour had the rain during the afternoon, so it was only 12 there. A cold front is sliding through. There was a warm front out ahead of it, so it's only snowing on the higher parts of the Alps. This is all driven by a low that is very slowly moving. That'll affect us until mid next week. The low is just to our west tomorrow, and it crosses us on the weekend. Wet weather wrapping around. It reaches Gippsland last as the low moves off the coast. Now, it will depend how close to the coast that low is. Some models do show more than this, particularly for far southern parts of Gippsland. The Alps had a snowy top-up to begin the week, the majors sitting on a depth of around a metre or just above. Today, snow was only falling up high. That pattern continues tomorrow. The snow lowers from Saturday, continues right through to Tuesday. There may be more to end next week too. Around the nation tomorrow, showery in Sydney, Adelaide, lots of showers, the risk of a storm. Mostly cloudy in Brisbane, sunny in Perth. To Victoria, mild, even warm for winter. are feeling a bit humid. Unstable, widespread showers in the north and west, only just reaching western Gippsland. Now, in those showers, there is the risk of thunderstorms. It'll be a bit of a hint of spring. Closer in, the morning does look generally dry. Then showers pop up. They could grow large enough to become storms. Now, most of the activity does look to be over in the western suburbs, and then the leftovers moving in at night. In amongst this, the risk of thunderstorms, there is lots of sunshine, so that'll feel a touch warm. The city's heading for 15. It's a bit humid out there tomorrow. To the 8-day outlook, Saturday could be similar, but only the slight risk of a thunderstorm. It's another top of 15. Showers are mainly in the afternoon and evening. On Sunday, the occasional shower around during the morning. They'll increase in the afternoon and evening. The same on Monday. The wettest weather is on Monday and Tuesday as that low comes near. But there's a fair bit of 15 out there. 16 on Wednesday before late showers, and then lots of them to end the week. So tomorrow, 15, feeling a bit humid, lots of sunshine, but there is that risk of an afternoon thunderstorm tomorrow, Mitch.
Been a cracker of a snow season. They'd be very happy up there.
It has indeed, and the outlook from Saturday onwards, great for them.
Incredible. Thank you very much indeed, Jane. Now here's what's on Sunrise in the morning.
Thanks, Mitch. Tomorrow on Sunrise, $10,000 of groceries could be yours.
We are knocking on someone's door live with the massive prize. Could you be our first weekly winner?
See you in the morning, Melbourne.
And that's the way it is this Thursday, the 11th of August. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.